In 1820, a boy appeared in a small village, speaking a language no one could understand. His words baffled scholars, priests, and locals alike. No record of his tongue existed then or now. What was he saying? Where did he come from? I set out to uncover the truth behind this mystery, diving into archives, chasing whispers of the past, and piecing together clues that defy explanation. Join me on this journey into the unknown, where a single voice challenges everything we believe about language, history, and humanity itself. I first heard about the boy from a dusty journal in a forgotten library. It was 1820, in a remote English village, when he wandered into the town square. Barefoot, clad in ragged clothes, he looked no older than 12. His eyes were wide, curious, but his speech stopped everyone cold. Strange syllables flowed from his mouth, melodic yet incomprehensible. Villagers gathered, staring, as he gestured wildly, trying to communicate. No one could place his accent or his words. Was he a foreigner? A runaway? The local priest thought he might be possessed. Scholars were called, but they left scratching their heads. The boy's language didn't match any known tongue. Not French, not Latin, not even the obscure dialects of nearby tribes. I wondered, could a language truly exist in isolation, unknown to the world? My search began there, with a single question. Who was this boy? The journal described the boy's arrival in vivid detail. He carried nothing but a small, carved wooden pendant. Its symbols were unfamiliar, not resembling any script I'd seen. The villagers fed him, but he seemed wary, watching them as if they were the strangers. His language had a rhythm, almost musical, with sharp consonants and flowing vowels. Some thought he was reciting poetry, others a prayer. Yet, no one could decode it. I tracked down the pendant's description in another archive. It was lost long ago, but sketches remained. The symbols didn't match runes, hieroglyphs, or any alphabet in history. I spent nights poring over linguistic records, hoping for a clue. Nothing. The boy's words seemed to exist outside time. Could he have come from a place unrecorded by history? My curiosity deepened. I visited the village, now a quiet town, to feel the ground where the boy stood. The square still exists, though modernized. Locals shared stories passed down through generations. They called him the Speaker. Some believed he was a time traveler, others a spirit. His stay was brief, 3 days, before he vanished. No one saw him leave. I found an old church record mentioning his departure. It noted his frustration, his hands waving as if begging to be understood. The priest had tried Latin, thinking it universal. The boy only shook his head. I imagined his loneliness, trapped in a world that couldn't hear him. My research led me to linguistic anomalies, other cases of unknown languages. None matched the boy's. Was his tongue a relic of a lost culture? I dug into 1820s Europe, a time of upheaval and discovery. Napoleon had just died. Borders were shifting. Could the boy have been a refugee from some uncharted tribe? I studied migration patterns, but no group spoke a language like his. Scholars of the time documented everything: Greek, Sanskrit, even dying Celtic tongues. Yet, the boy's speech left no trace. I found a letter from a linguist who met him. The man was obsessed writing. His words haunt me. They belong nowhere. I felt that haunting too. Every dead end in my research made the mystery grow. I began to wonder if the boy was a fluke, a singular anomaly. But something told me there was more. I kept searching, driven by his voice echoing across centuries. I stumbled upon a theory. What if the boy's language was constructed? Secret societies in the 1800s sometimes created private codes, but his fluency was too natural, too effortless. Children don't invent languages with such complexity overnight. I consulted a cryptologist who analyzed a few transcribed syllables from the journal. She found no pattern, no cipher. It's like he spoke something organic, not artificial, she said. I thought of isolated tribes, but even they leave linguistic footprints. The boy's words had none. I imagined him sitting by a fire, teaching me his tongue, only for me to fail. The pendant symbols nagged at me. Were they a key? I needed to know more about where he came from. I explored the possibility of a lost civilization. Ancient cultures like the Etruscans left undeciphered scripts. Could the boy have been a descendant of something older? I studied Linear A, Rongo. None matched the pendant symbols. The boy's age puzzled me too. 12 years old, yet he carried himself with purpose. Villagers noted his confidence, as if he knew his path. I found a folktale from a nearby town about a star child who spoke in riddles. Was it him? The tale mentioned lights in the sky before his arrival. I laughed it off at first, aliens? But the mystery made me question everything. What if his language came from beyond our world? I needed evidence, not speculation. I contacted a historian specializing in 19th century oddities. She shared a story of a similar case in France, 1832. A girl spoke an unknown language, then disappeared. No connection to the boy, but the pattern intrigued me. Were there others? I scoured records for more speakers. A few cases surfaced, none as detailed as the boy's. Each left me hungrier for answers. The boy's brief stay suggested urgency, as if he was on a mission. But what? His pendant haunted my dreams, its curves and lines teasing meaning. I sketched it endlessly, hoping for a breakthrough. The historian warned me. Some mysteries resist solving. I refused to believe that. The boy deserved to be heard. I turned to linguistics again, focusing on language evolution. All tongues have roots, Proto-Indo-European, Semitic, Sino-Tibetan. The boy's didn't fit. I analyzed its phonetics from the journal's notes. Guttural stops, lilting vowels, no cognates. It was alien, yet human. I wondered if trauma could explain it. Was he mute until some event unlocked his speech? Medical records from 1820 were sparse, but nothing suggested madness. The villagers described him as calm, not deranged. I imagined teaching him English, watching his face light up with understanding. But he was gone before anyone could try. His language felt like a lock without a key. I needed to find its origin. I visited a linguistics conference, presenting the boy's case. Experts were skeptical but intrigued. One suggested glossolalia, spontaneous, invented speech. But glossolalia lacked structure. The boy's words had grammar, consistency. Another proposed he was a savant, creating a language from scratch. Possible, but unlikely for a child. I shared the pendant sketch. A professor gasped, claiming it resembled an obscure script from a Pacific island. I chased the lead, but it was a dead end. The symbols were close, not identical. Frustration grew, but so did my determination. The boy's voice was real, his story undeniable. I felt him urging me forward, across time. I began to question history itself. What if the boy's language was erased? Conquerors often destroy cultures, leaving no trace. But even lost languages leave echoes, loan words, inscriptions. His had none. I read about the Voynich manuscript, a book in an unknown script. Could the boy's tongue be related? Experts doubt the manuscript's language is real, but the boy's was spoken, witnessed. I imagined him as a survivor, the last of his kind. His pendant might have been his only proof. I searched for similar artifacts in museums, finding nothing. The mystery was a labyrinth, but I couldn't stop. The boy's words were my guide, even if I couldn't understand them. I shifted focus to the boy's behavior. He wasn't afraid, just frustrated. Villagers noted his attempts to draw in the dirt, maps, perhaps. The sketches were lost, but they suggested intent. Was he trying to show his home? I studied 1820s cartography, hoping for clues. No uncharted lands matched his supposed origin. I wondered if he was from a parallel world, a theory I dismissed but couldn't ignore. His language's structure suggested a culture with history, yet it was nowhere. I contacted a physicist friend, half joking about time travel. She humored me, saying, "Language doesn't just vanish." But this one did. I felt closer to the boy, yet further from answers. I found a second journal, written by a doctor who examined the boy. He was healthy, but his diet was odd. He avoided bread, preferring roots. Was this a clue to his origin? I researched 1820s agriculture, finding no culture that matched his habits. The doctor noted his pendant glowed faintly at night. Exaggeration? I couldn't tell. I imagined the boy clutching it, whispering his strange words. The journal mentioned his eyes, too old for his age. I felt a chill. Was he carrying a burden? His language felt like a message, meant for someone. But who? I needed to understand his purpose. I explored folklore again, diving into tales of lost children. Many cultures have stories of strangers, with odd tongues. None matched the boy's specifics, but the archetype was there. Was he part of a larger phenomenon? I found a German tale from 1818 about a boy with sky words. Too vague to confirm, but it stirred me. The boy's pendant symbols kept resurfacing in my mind. I consulted a symbologist, who found no matches, but noted their complexity. "They're not random," she said. I felt the boy was leaving breadcrumbs, but I couldn't follow. His language was a puzzle, and I was missing pieces. I revisited the village, seeking oral histories. An elder shared a story her grandmother told. The boy sang at night, a haunting melody. The tune was lost, but it moved listeners to tears. I imagined his voice, carrying a culture no one knew. I recorded my own narration, trying to mimic his cadence from the journal's notes. It felt alive, vibrant. I shared it with a linguist friend, who said it resembled no known phonology. The boy's song was another dead end, yet it humanized him. He wasn't just a mystery. He was a child alone. I vowed to keep searching for his truth. I considered psychological angles. Could the boy have been delusional, creating a language from trauma? But his consistency, 3 days of the same speech, ruled that out. I read about feral children, raised without language. They don't invent complex tongues. The boy's fluency suggested education, a society. Yet, no society claimed him. I found a record of a reward offered for his family, unclaimed. His pendant was my only tangible clue, but it was gone. I searched auction records, hoping it surfaced. Nothing. The boy's existence felt like a fleeting dream, yet his words lingered in my mind. I explored the supernatural, reluctantly. Some villagers thought the boy was a ghost. I found no evidence, but the idea stuck. His sudden appearance and disappearance defied logic. I read about ley lines, energy points some believe attract strange events. The village sat on one. Coincidence? I didn't know. I imagined the boy stepping through a veil, his language a remnant of another realm. Ridiculous, but the lack of answers made me consider everything. I needed grounding, so I returned to linguistics. His language's structure suggested nouns, verbs, a complete system. It wasn't gibberish. It was real. I contacted a codebreaker, sharing the transcribed syllables. He spent weeks analyzing them, finding no cipher or pattern. "It's a language, not a code," he concluded. That was both thrilling and frustrating. A language implies a people, a place. Where were they? I studied isolated languages, like Basque or Ainu. None matched. The boy's tongue was a singleton, an orphan. I felt like I was chasing a shadow. His pendant symbols became my obsession. I posted them online, hoping for crowdsourced answers. A few replies came, none credible. The boy's voice was slipping away, but I couldn't let go. I found a reference to a lost speaker in an 1821 newspaper. It mentioned a boy in a nearby town, speaking words of the void. Likely our boy misreported. The article claimed he was taken to an asylum, but no records confirmed it. I visited the asylum's ruins, now a crumbling shell. Nothing remained but echoes of forgotten lives. I imagined the boy there, silenced by misunderstanding. His language deserved better. I contacted a linguist who studies extinct tongues. She said, "Some languages die before they're born." Was that his fate? I refused to accept it. His words demanded to be heard. I explored the boy's possible origins through trade routes. 1820s Europe was connected to Asia, Africa, the Americas. Could he have been a sailor's child, speaking a forgotten dialect? I studied maritime logs, finding no clues. His language didn't resemble pidgins or creoles. It was too structured, too unique. I imagined him on a ship, learning his tongue from a lost crew. But no shipwreck reports matched his arrival. The pendant symbols felt like a map, but to where? I consulted a cartographer, who found no matching iconography. The boy was a ghost in history's pages. I began to feel the boy's presence, as if he were guiding me. Irrational but real. His story was more than a puzzle, it was a plea. I reread every document, searching for overlooked details. The doctor's journal mentioned a mark on his wrist, a small tattoo. No description, just a note. I researched 19th century tattoos, hoping for a cultural link. Sailors and tribes used them, but none matched the boy's context. I imagined his voice, clear and urgent, begging me to understand. I was failing him. The mystery was consuming me, but I couldn't stop. His language was my mission. I turned to modern technology, feeding the transcribed syllables into AI language models. They spat out gibberish, no matches. The boy's tongue was beyond their reach. I wondered if it was pre-human, a proto-language from a forgotten age. Ridiculous, but I was desperate. I consulted an archaeologist, sharing the pendant symbols. She found no parallels in ancient scripts. It's like he invented his own world, she said. I imagined him doing just that, a child crafting a universe in his mind. But his fluency suggested more, a community, a history. Where were they? I needed to find his people. I explored oral traditions, seeking stories of strange speakers. A Scottish tale mentioned a child in 1815 speaking Star talk. Too vague, but it echoed the boy's story. I traveled to Scotland, chasing leads. Nothing concrete, just more folklore. The boy's pendant symbols haunted me. I sketched them on napkins and notebooks, searching for meaning. A linguist suggested they were ideograms, not letters. Each could represent a concept, a story. I imagined the boy carving them, his small hands steady. His language felt alive, even now. I was closer, but still lost in its depths. I considered the boy's emotional state. He wasn't panicked, just urgent. He wanted something, connection, perhaps. The villager's kindness wasn't enough. He needed understanding. I read about language isolates, tongues with no relatives. The boys fit that mold, but even isolates have traces, artifacts, descendants. He had none. I imagined teaching him my language, bridging the gap. But he was gone, his words a fading echo. I posted a story online, hoping for new leads. A few linguists responded, intrigued but stumped. The boy's voice was a challenge, a dare to history. I found a reference to a wandering tongue in an 1820s pamphlet. It described a boy, likely ours, whose words defied God's order. Religious fear, nothing more. But it confirmed his impact. People were shaken. I imagined their awe, their confusion. His language wasn't just strange, it was revolutionary. I consulted a theologian, wondering if it was a divine test. He laughed, but I didn't. The boy's pendant felt like a relic, sacred in its mystery. I searched for similar artifacts in private collections. Nothing. His story was slipping through my fingers, but I clung to it. I explored the boy's possible age. 12, but his maturity suggested more. Could he have been older, stunted by hardship? I studied 1820s child labor, famine, disease. Nothing explained his language. His pendant's glow, mentioned by the doctor, nagged at me. Was it real? I researched bioluminescence, finding no cultural link. I imagined the boy holding it up, its light reflecting his strange words. His eyes, described as ancient, haunted me. Was he carrying a secret too big for his frame? I needed to know what drove him to that village. I revisited the asylum lead, chasing records in nearby towns. A vague entry mentioned a mute boy in 1821. Not our speaker, but the coincidence stung. I imagined him locked away, his language silenced. I contacted a psychologist, exploring childhood language development. She said invented languages are rare, fleeting. The boy's wasn't. It had depth, purpose. I felt him watching me, urging me to keep going. His pendant symbols were my only anchor. I posted them on forums, begging for insights. A few wild theories came. None held up. His voice was still mute to me. I considered the boy's disappearance. No trace, no witnesses. Did he choose to leave, or was he taken? The church record hinted at fear. Villagers thought he was cursed. I imagined him slipping into the night, his pendant glowing faintly. His language was his identity, and it was lost. I studied 1820s crime records, hoping for kidnapping reports. Nothing fit. The boy was a phantom, real but untouchable. I felt his frustration, his need to be heard. I was his voice now, but I was failing. His words deserved a home, a meaning. I explored the pendant's material. The journal called it wood, but was it? I researched 1820s crafts, finding no matches. The symbols were precise, not crude. A culture with tools, skill. But where? I imagined the boy's people, speaking his tongue, carving his pendant. Were they gone? I consulted an anthropologist, sharing the symbols. She found no parallels, but noted their sophistication. This wasn't a lone child's work, she said. I felt a spark of hope. His language wasn't solitary, it had a source. I just had to find it, somewhere in time. I began to accept the mystery's weight. The boy's language might never be decoded, but his story mattered. He was a child, alone, speaking words no one knew. I imagined his fear, his courage. His pendant was his only link to home, wherever that was. I shared his story at a history conference, hoping for new perspectives. A few listeners were moved, but no answers came. I felt closer to him, as if he were my kin. His voice was my burden, my purpose. I vowed to keep searching, even if the truth stayed out of reach. I stand now at the edge of the mystery, the boy's words still ringing in my mind. I've chased every lead, turned every stone. His language remains a void, a beautiful enigma. The pendant symbols are etched in my memory, a map to nowhere. I imagine him now free, speaking his tongue to the stars. He was real, his story undeniable. I've given him a voice, even if I can't translate it. His language doesn't exist, but it lives in me. I'll keep searching for him, for his truth. The boy from 1820 deserves that much. His words demand to be remembered. If this mystery gripped you as it did me, subscribe to the channel. Join me as we uncover more forgotten stories, voices lost to time. Hit that button, and let's keep the boy's words alive together.